Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I'm G. Bush, and on today's show, rookies are reporting this week coming up. Which one of these rookies needs to impress, and which one is going to have the biggest target on their back? We'll talk about that coming up in this episode. Tyvis?
I'm Tyvis Powell, and Jeudy came in at 82 on the NFL Tops 100 list. We're going to guess where Myles Garrett landed and what other Browns made the list. Jason.
I'm Jason Lloyd. The second half to Major League Baseball season begins tonight. The Guardians are 3 games under 500. They haven't finished with a losing record in a really long time. What are they going to finish with this year? We're going to talk about it. Earl.
I'm Earl the Pearl, manning the ship today, and I'll tell you which Cleveland Browns rookie is under the most pressure to perform right away this season as we get started. Rookies reported today. The veterans will report on Tuesday. We know the names by now: Mason Graham, Carson Schlesinger, Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. Of all the rookies of the 2025 draft class, G, which one do you believe is under the most pressure to perform?
Well, listen, it's usually I would go with a skill position, but I'm going to have to talk about the defense of Mason Graham. Whether we like it or not, you take a look at Mason Graham. They did trade the pick last year. They got it during the draft this year, and they got a boatload of stuff for it. They got another second-round pick to move down. They got another first-round draft pick that they could use to package if they do need to find a quarterback, or if they do find a quarterback in this year's draft, they could use those picks to just bolster the roster. I said this before, and people, I'm infamously said, they better not take no defensive tackle and pass on Travis Hunter. And that's exactly what they did. But when you look at it, on paper, it has an opportunity to bolster the Browns' defense. And when you look at what they have up front, they finally got 2 guys, and Mike Hall Jr. and Mason Graham, that are upfield penetrators, guys that can cause havoc in the backfield, giving Myles Garrett another opportunity to still go out there and dominate on the edge. You still have Isaiah McGuire. You still have Alex Wright. So you have some pieces and parts up there. But when you are the 5th overall pick, when you're the 5th overall pick, and Aaron Donald went somewhere in 11 through 15 or whatever, and Aaron Donald is that guy, you better be nice. You have to be a day one ball player, Tyvis, if you're going to be drafted in the top 5, and that's where they took the defensive tackle.
I think that's why he's got a lot of pressure. It's because when you think about just some of the names, some of the defensive tackles that went top 5, I mean, it's some names on that list.
You got to be bad.
It's some dudes on that list, and you're expecting him to be that. I won't pick him. I won't say he's under the most pressure. I know for a lot of this fan base he will be because of the Travis Hunter situation. But it was Quinshon, but obviously he's got some stuff that he's dealing with, and I thought that they were going to utilize him on offense a lot. Like he was going to have to really be the focal point of that offense to help everybody else get free. But due to the fact that he's dealing with some stuff, I'm going to keep him off the list, and I'm going to go with Carson Schlesinger. Why? Because he's replacing JOK. JOK was a guy who was arguably the second best player on that defense. The plays that JOK made his last 2 years before that injury, I mean, he was seeing the game clearer than anybody I ever seen since Luke Kuechly. Like, his instincts was really, really good. He was playing at a high level, and he was the engine of that defense. We talked about that playoff game where they lost to the Texans. He was head and shoulders better than anybody else on that defense or anybody else on that field that day. It's unfortunate that he went down with that injury, but now you took Carson Schlesinger so early. Was he the first pick in the second round? Mm-hmm. Like, it was so many other skill players. You think about the offense that ranked 32nd last year. All of those guys that you said, you know what, we're not going to go after them. We're going to get this guy. So to me, that means that he has to come in and be a day one starter and be able to make some plays, and they believe that he can be that. He has to be that for this defense this season.
See, my answer kind of changed a little bit this week because I think it is now Judkins, only because like you got a strike against you now, a pretty big strike, and you don't have a contract, by the way. You haven't even signed your contract. So I think he's got to come in whenever that is, and he's got to hit the ground running, and he's got to make a strong impression. Prior to that, my answer would have been these quarterbacks because I've been on record. I think they're taking a quarterback next year. This is a one-year stopgap. And right now, as the Browns sit here today, when they moved down from 2 to 5, when they made the trade and passed on Travis Hunter, it was to find a quarterback in next year's draft. So you have 1 year, if you're Dylan Gabriel and you're Shedeur Sanders, to change their mind. And it's up to them to show overwhelming evidence that you don't need to find a quarterback next year. I'm your guy. So that when you talk about Schlesinger, when you talk about Mason Graham, these guys are going to be here for the next 3, 4, 5 years, regardless. They could have a terrible rookie year. They're going to be back next year. For these rookies, this could be their one and only shot to win a starting job in the NFL. So for that, I mean, the Judkins thing is separate. It's a messy situation. I think he's got a lot of pressure on him now that he didn't have on him a week ago at this time. But for these quarterbacks, this is their one chance and maybe their only chance to. I mean, this job is wide open. This legitimately is an open quarterback competition, and they, because of where they were picked, because of Dylan Gabriel's size and some of the noise that comes with Shedeur, this may be their one and only chance to win a starting quarterback job in the NFL.
Yeah, you look at it, and some people and some detractors will say, well, listen, if you guys have Kenny Pickett and you have Joe Flacco at the top of your board as guys that you have to beat out, guys that are super talented, that are franchise quarterbacks, would beat them out.
Yes.
Like, it's not as if, you got a 41-year-old guy and you got Kenny Pickett who's bounced around a little bit. So people are saying, like you said, it's an open opportunity. And one thing, listen, I would love to see Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders play the entire year and see what you got in both of them. But the reality of this situation, Tyvus, is that's not how the game works in the NFL. We know that there's plenty of guys that we know could be better than other guys or could be more talented, but the circumstances weren't right in a situation to show what you can do. So if you get out there and you're Dylan Gabriel and you're Shedeur Sanders, when you step on that field, you got to be thinking touchdown, efficiency. You got to be on point because you do need to show that you can, your teammates in the organization, that you're that guy.
I said the other day, consistency is what they're chasing, and I think Jason's right when you look at the fact that, everybody believes that the Browns is going to draft a quarterback if none of these quarterbacks hit this year. And that is a lot of pressure to know, like, man, I got 1 year to try to make this happen. But in the same breath, you can't be discouraged by that because if you're not ready to play, you're just not ready to play. Like, it takes people certain years. We've had Bernie Kosar come on the show, and he talked about how I think he said his rookie year, they said they don't care where you drafted. You not playing this season. And he said it did so much for him because he was able to learn the game. We talk about Bryce Young. Bryce Young 2 years ago as a rookie, he struggled a lot. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, he doesn't have a lot to work with around him, but last year he started again, got benched. Andy Dalton goes out there, win a game with the same group, and it looks like, wow, you could have done this. Bryce Young took some weeks off. He came back, and he started to look good towards the end of the year. Just imagine if he would have just sat and waited until that time that last year and never had to go through those growing pains, he never would have been discouraged. He never would have been down on himself. Maybe that's the same thing with Dylan, with these two quarterbacks on the Browns roster, where if they just not ready, they just not ready.
Listen, speaking of Dylan Gabriel, Earl, I think you had him as the guy to watch.
Yeah, for me, that's the rookie that's under the most pressure to perform right away for several reasons. Through the entire process, we heard that this was Kevin Stefanski's guy, that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry did their due diligence, that they met with him, they studied, everything that had to do with Dylan Gabriel, more than apparently every other team in the NFL. When you look at the overall prospects of the 2025 draft, Dylan Gabriel was ranked as low as 148th out of 150. When it came to the quarterbacks, he was ranked anywhere between 9th and 10th. And so to me, the Browns are operating like they found the needle in a haystack. Throughout the OTAs, you've heard about how smart he is, how quick he's picking up the playbook. And for the Cleveland Browns to take a flyer on a short quarterback that's left-handed, and we know the analytics says that really don't pan out, to me, You spent a third-round pick on him. He's under the most pressure to perform because this is being touted as Kevin and Andrew's guy. And if he doesn't make them look well, then now we're scratching their head about their evaluation even more.
You know what's crazy, Earl, that you mentioned that? I would probably actually switch my joint to what you just said. And the reason I think that it's more apt because, as Jason pointed out, Mason Graham could be terrible for 2 years. He's going to be here regardless. He can not show up, and third year he kind of gets it, and then we won't say anything about it. But when you're Dylan Gabriel, you have no such leeway. When you take a look at being drafted in the third round, yes, you got drafted in the third round, and it looks like if Flacco or Pickett starts, you might get the first opportunity to be out there on the field. However, how much pressure are you under knowing that the guy behind you, everybody in America wants to see? So you got to play lights out. You got to play lights out in order to stave that off. Because Jason, like you say we're going to see both of them.
Yeah.
So you may get supplanted, and Shador may get an opportunity, and you're looking around like, dang, I got 4 games.
If you're a competitor, though, and these guys obviously are to make it to this level, I think I would welcome the opportunity to come. I'd rather come to the Browns and have an opportunity to start and play right away than if you go to the Chiefs where you're going to be Patrick Mahomes' backup for the next 4 years or Justin Herbert's backup or Josh Allen. If you're a mid-round pick, you could go to a high-functioning organization and you could sit back and you could learn. But what else does Dylan Gabriel have to prove? He's made 64 starts in college. He is a finished product. He is what he is. Yeah, you could learn from sitting in the NFL and watching, yes. But also, I just kind of think this kid is what he is, this young man. And if he was 3 or 4 inches taller, he'd have been a first-round pick. So put him out there and see what he's got.
Yeah. This is the funny thing. Sometimes you get in the game, and we talked about this before. Sometimes you get in the game and they play so well, he don't get a position.
Can't get him out.
It happened to Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe.
That's what he better do if he get that opportunity.
I take a look at it and I say, well, look, you take a look at Shador Sanders. Hey, you might get your shot, but when you get it, make the most of it. Coming up, Guardians, 46-49. They got 75 games left to go. When we get back, we'll predict the overall number that the Guardians will win when we come back right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Guardians, 3 games under 500, and I know we ain't heard that in a very long time. They're usually consistent. 75 games to go coming out of the All-Star break. Guys, we're going to go around the horn and talk about how many wins we project the Guardians to have at the end of the season. Jason, we'll start with you. What do you think the outlook is?
Well, first we got to figure out who's on this team. The trade deadline's in 2 weeks, and that will go a long way in determining. I believe Carlos Santana is probably on the market. They would probably move him. You could bring up C.J. Kafis to play first base. There's bullpen pieces that may or may not be available. What do you do with Stephen Kwan? He's down to 2 years of control. His name has been heavily floated out there. Emmanuel Clase as well. So this has the potential for this team to look a lot differently on August 1st than it does right now. And before you have the answer to that, it's really hard to say. I will say I think they're going to finish right around 500. I think they missed the playoffs. I'd probably put them at right around 80 wins. But the one that I am most fascinated to see between now and July 31st is Shane Bieber. And what do you do with Bieber? And I don't think he's going to be ready to pitch before the trade deadline. So if you're the Guardians, do you keep him and try and make a push, knowing what you have invested in him and knowing what he's meant to this organization? Or do you deal him you're not going to get full value for him because no one's seen him pitch yet. And teams can send scouts to his rehab start, but they want to see him on a major league field. So I think the Bieber thing is fascinating and a really tough spot for the organization to be in, just because I don't think he's going to be back on a major league mound. I would guess probably early August or mid-August he's back, but not by the trade deadline. So that's what I'm watching more than anything, but probably they're going to finish right around 500.
Tyvis, I can't wrap my head around this team. They lose 10 games, and then they come back before the All-Star break and run off a nice little streak. Mm-hmm. They beat a lot of good teams during that period. The Astros, but it just seems that, you can't really get excited about them because they have these ups and downs, and the deficiencies are so glaring, especially when it comes to the bats, that it's hard to put your complete faith in them getting a high win total.
Yeah, I got him right around 500 as well. I'm going to say, he said 80, I'm going to go 83. I'm going to be generous, 83. And when you look at this season, you're right, it's the batting for me. Like, yeah, they've been able to do it lately. Now, can they keep that up? And track records show that they just haven't. And then I got questions about the starting pitching. Tanner Bybee, I don't know what's going on, but it's not looking good. Gavin Williams, he gives you those flashes. He's strong, but then, other than the hitting's not working. Then it's vice versa. This team has never put both sides of it together, and I'm thinking that at some point they're going to get they're going to run off some wins. But I just don't think it's going to be enough to make the playoffs. Like, when I think of playoffs, I think of Jim Moore. Playoffs? You kidding me? Talking playoffs. But I do think they will finish around 500, though.
See, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, I was going to say Jeopardy. I'm going to go Price is Right. I'm going to split the difference. You said 80. You said 83. I'm going with 81. Right in the middle. But I can't lie. Y'all had some great stuff. But I put it to you like this. The biggest thing for me is the guys that we have. Kyle Manzardo is at least, I think he has, 12, 13 home runs right now?
13, I think.
13 home runs.
14.
Okay. And he's not playing every
Put some
day.
respect on his name.
He's not even playing every day. If you're going to have that guy with 14 home runs, and that's the guy that probably is the best to protect Jose Ramirez in the lineup, you got to give him more at-bats. The crazy part about it is we're still waiting to see Kafers. We're still waiting to see DeLauder. There's no sign of when those guys are coming back. So to me, when I look at this staff, the Guardians have been always great because even if they don't spend any money, the two things you can count on: pitching, bullpen, and they've always been solid defensively. They've always found a way to get more out of less. But at this point, the bats are so deficient in the bullpen, it hasn't been as good as it usually is. That's what's leaving me to say that they're not going to make the playoffs, and I think they're going to be around 81 wins.
They're 4.5 games out of the wild card, but there's a lot of teams in front of them. And that's why you just have to be realistic about where you're at and what your future is. With some of the decisions that they make. Santana's easy. That's an easy call. He's at the end of his career. He's on a one-year deal.
Lane Thomas,
I would also I mean, again, not going to have a ton of value. He's had a terrible year. He's had a ton of injuries. You're not going to get much for him.
Clase?
That's the harder one. When you get to Clase and Quan, these are much harder conversations to have. And this is an organization that historically sets a really high price on their guys, and they don't budge off it. And if you're willing to come meet the price, you've got a deal. And if you're not willing to negotiate on their terms, there's no deal. So I think that they've probably set a pretty high price on Clase and Quan. And now they're going to wait and see if someone is willing to come up over the next 2 weeks to meet it. And then they're going to have a really difficult conversation. These veterans at the end of their careers, that's easy. The guys with multiple years of control left, that's a lot tougher.
Earl, win total.
I'm going to go 80 on the win total. They got the easiest strength of schedule the rest of the way. I think they can get to 80 wins. But don't forget, the Cleveland Guardians are back in action tonight after the All-Star break, live on Channel 3 WKYC at 7:10. First pitch is at 7:10 against the A's. The Guardians are back.
Speaking of back, when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL 100 list. Jerry Jeudy made the list coming in at 82. We'll talk about where we think Myles Garrett might be, and if we see any more Cleveland Browns make the top 100 list, right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Back on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, guys, it's that time of the year NFL comes out with their top 100, and we already know Jerry Jeudy is at number 82. Will we see anybody else on the list, and where would they be at? Starting with Myles Garrett, what do you got, Tyvis?
Myles will be definitely in the top 10. I'd say maybe 6. I could see him being 6 on the list. Just the guy's a freak. The guy's somebody that everybody has to worry about. I mean, he really made a late push at the end of the year, getting those sacks and those stuff like that. So I can see Myles being about 6 on the list. The other guy that I could think of outside of those two is probably Denzel. I know Denzel missed some time with a couple of injuries here and there, but when he was in, he was solid. Very good cover corner. I would see him coming in at about 72.
Jason, I thought I would have Denzel a little bit higher. I put Denzel probably about 56 somewhere. It helps that Jamar Chase says he's the best
That's
corner
true.
that you're out there with. Also, when I look at Myles Garrett, I do think he's in the top 10 somewhere. I think he's the first defensive player. It might be him or Pat Surtain.
Yeah.
That could be vying for the top defensive player. But I think he's definitely in the top 10. Give me a Denzel Ward around the 50s, 56, 55 area.
Denzel was not on the list last year, which is a little bit surprising. I thought that he would be. I was just flipping through it to make sure I didn't miss him.
Didn't he miss time with a concussion?
Or didn't you say?
I mean,
remember,
you say
he
that
got
every year.
Yeah, he got a 4-game. He gets 4 games. You know what I'm saying? It's like PTO.
I would put Denzel in the 80s probably, in the 70s to 80s, somewhere in there. We'll see if he's on the list or not. Myles is clearly in the top 10. He was 5 last year. Christian McCaffrey was 4 last year. McCaffrey's going to come down coming off the season he had. Maybe someone leaps over Myles. I still think
Saquon or something. What?
he very well could.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry.
I think Myles is a top 5 player in the league. I think that's a good spot for him. If he falls to 6, whatever, who cares? He's clearly in the top 10. And beyond that, the pickings are slim.
The slimmest of pickings need to be had. Earl, you can pick over the carcass. Pick over the turkey that's been eaten. Go ahead.
Just grizzle and fat, buddy.
I got Myles in the top 5. I think Myles, even though he didn't win DPOY for 2 years in a row, Defensive Player of the Year, I think Myles will end up being the number 1 defensive player on the list. I think Denzel Ward cracks the list. He missed 1 game due to injury in 2024. I know that's kind of hard to believe, but I think Denzel is probably like in the 60s. But y'all know we forgetting somebody. Y'all
Man,
know.
no.
Don't you start
Don't
with
you
that.
do that. Don't you do that.
If
you'd have said it 2 years ago, yeah.
Since you got him, I'm gonna give my outrageous
you got to explain
guy.
who it is. Earl's all-time favorite Brown is.
So in case our TV audience that doesn't know this, Martin Emerson Jr. is the future GOAT, the future Hall of Famer, the future all-be-all of the Cleveland Browns. I know he had a bad year last year, but just watch him bounce back. You know, this is America. We love redefining and redeeming ourselves. So just watch.
So if you was to put him on the list, just what number would you put him at?
What number was Nelly?
Hey, man. Hey.
And since
Hey, he out of line.
what we're gonna do is
Hey, man, he really crazy.
I'm gonna remix this one. If you had to pick one Browns rookie that would be in the way too early top 100 for next year, who would it be?
It probably would have been Quinshawn Judkins before last year.
Here.
I'm gonna have to switch it up. I'm gonna go off I think Carson Schlesinger is gonna have 100+ tackles, and they're gonna say this young dude was nice. I'm gonna go with him.
I tell you what, whatever clicked for JOK, whatever linebacker coach, or if it was Jim Schwartz, whatever happened, that person needs to be in Carson Schlesinger's ear. Give a lot. Shout out to DeQuail Jackson.
Shout out
by the
to
way, too.
DQ.
They need to be in Carson's ear because, like I said, I've never seen somebody see the game as clear as JOK did. Like, his anticipation was out of this world. And so if Schlesinger can get that on this defense with that defensive line, and if that secondary actually plays like the talented guys that they are, we could very well get the number 1 defensive spot back.
Yeah, they're talented. They're young. They got some thoroughbreds. Jason, anybody that it would be surprised?
Oh, you know who should have made the list?
Who?
Corey Bojorquez, the best player on the Cleveland Browns last year. Best punter in the league.
He might be the MVP this year.
Big bold predictions from 2025 season who will be on the next top 100 list.
Corey Bojorquez.
Listen, I'm going with Carson Schlesinger. He's going to get the reps. He's going to start. I think he's going to be – and think about it. They got 10 people on Myles Garrett. You should be eating. Everybody should be eating. Let me get a couple plays. Mason Graham, that's a good
Y'all
one.
both wrong. Corey Bojorquez.
What if it's a quarterback?
Well, then we ain't drafting one
next year. Then we all cooking. If it's a court, oh boy, that is really what we want to see. Like if that turns out to be truth, we great, man. Well, speaking of being great, we'll catch you next week. Same place, same time. Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.